Imagine stepping into a cozy living room where the furniture is a tad outdated. The walls are covered with family portraits of people you've never met, and there's a creaking wooden floor that seems to hold a lot of secrets. In the center of that room, picture an old-fashioned television set flickering black and white images of a stage performance, voices floating out, drawing you in, mesmerizing you with a story of heartbreak, resilience, and ultimate triumph. In a corner, you spot a stack of film reels labeled The Exorcist, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, and Requiem for a Dream. These reels are your guide, inviting you to explore a remarkable life that has soared to Hollywood's heights and struggled through the darkest private battles. It's the life story of Ellen Burstyn, born Edna Ray Galuli, a woman who faced more than her fair share of demons, both literal and metaphorical, yet continued to transform adversity into artistry for nearly a century. Her journey begins in Detroit on December 7, 1932, when little Edna Ray first came into the world. This city, shaped by the hum of factories and the grit of working-class communities, might have felt like it had magic and gloom in equal measure. At home, that balance was off. Her parents' marriage was crumbling even before she was old enough to grasp what was happening. Her father left, leaving behind a messy situation for her mother to navigate. Soon, her mother remarried, and to call this new husband unkind would be an understatement. He was dangerously cruel, physically violent, a ticking time bomb who made the home front feel like a battlefield. This was the environment that greeted Edna Ray in her earliest memories. A child, barely able to form full sentences, forced to sense tension in every room. Before long, her mother decided she was better off elsewhere. So, in a move that must have felt like an abandonment within an abandonment, Edna Ray was sent off to a Catholic boarding school in Windsor, Canada. The rationale was that maybe this would give her mother the freedom to live her own life in Detroit without a small child getting in the way. For a young girl already stinging from the absence of her father, traveling across the border to live among strangers in a uniform must have been a cocktail of confusion, loneliness, and maybe a dash of excitement. Boarding schools have their own hierarchy, their own rhythms. She had to adapt to nuns and rigid rules, a stark contrast to what she had known. Perhaps there were fleeting moments of tranquility. Maybe the cold Canadian air felt crisp and clean, a respite from the tensions back home. Still, deep down, the knowledge that her mother didn't seem to want her around had to hurt. Eventually, she returned to Detroit. Any hopes for a gentler homecoming quickly dissolved. The stepfather's cruelty grew more ferocious. There was an incident so violent that she almost grabbed a knife to defend herself. Imagine the raw terror of a teenage girl preparing to do something drastic just to feel safe. That's the level of tension simmering under the roof. But adversity has a way of shaping strong spirits. Edna Ray, who would one day rename herself multiple times and transform into an enduring star, decided she needed a refuge from all this turmoil. She found some measure of escape in school activities, drama club, student council, anything that put a spotlight on her in a more controlled, positive way. The same household that brought fear also lit a spark in her, a hunger to shine, a hunger to be seen on her own terms, not as the timid girl cowering before an abusive adult. Her grades, though, weren't particularly high. Perhaps she was too restless, too bruised by life outside the classroom to focus on tests and essays. By age 16, she left high school altogether. Some might have thought she was giving up, but in reality she was searching for a bigger canvas. At that point, she started modeling and dancing gigs, adopting the name Carrie Flynn, which sounded more glamorous than Edna Ray. This was the 1940s and early 1950s era, when a certain mystique clung to anyone who rebranded themselves with a breezy, showbiz-friendly moniker. She was still just a teenager, taking up odd jobs that blended showmanship, aesthetics, and a dash of hustle. Now, a rebellious teen might settle for local opportunities, but Carrie Flynn had bigger dreams. She left Detroit with barely more than 50 cents in her pocket. Dallas was the first stop on her quest, but the real goal lay further east, New York City. There, under the neon lights, she figured she could claw her way into professional modeling or land a job in some nightclub act. And let's not forget that this was the golden age of possibility, even if it was also the golden age of female exploitation in show business. Navigating that labyrinth would require grit. When she arrived in New York, she found the hustle wasn't as simple as picking up a contract off the sidewalk. She tried her luck with men too, falling into an affair with a man she believed was single, only to discover he was married. By the time she learned the truth, she was already pregnant. It's hard to imagine the desperation, shame, and fear she must have felt. A feeling that lingers when you're alone in a big city, uncertain who you can trust, and faced with a future you can't quite envision. In those days, options for pregnant, unmarried women were harshly limited. She went to a so-called doctor who performed an illegal procedure that tragically left her unable to have children. This moment would shadow her for the rest of her life, and though she was still incredibly young, the experience forced her to confront adult realities in the most brutal way. Trying to pick herself up from that trauma, she found her way onto television in the Jackie Gleason show as part of the Away We Go Dancers, a background ensemble that added splashy entertainment value without requiring too much star power. Even in those group numbers, though, you can picture her scanning the audience, the camera, the production staff, thinking, I can do more, I can be more. She would need a different name yet again to carve a new identity that matched her ambitions. An audition for a Broadway show called Fair Game led to a producer's demand that she switch her name one more time. Casting directors in those days wanted a name that popped, or at least one that sounded suitably all-American. So she chose Ellen McRae. Who knows how quickly she made that decision? Maybe she scrawled options on a coffee-stained napkin, testing them aloud. This time, the name stuck, at least for a while. It was a stepping stone that promised a better future. In the swirl of this transitional period, she found fleeting engagements, both on stage and in relationships. She got engaged to a man known as Boots McKenna, someone older and presumably more stable. But fate took another swerve when she reconnected with an old flame, William Alexander, back in Detroit. This reunion led to a marriage, a step that might have felt like a shot at normalcy after the emotional kaleidoscope of her youth. But that marriage didn't last. She found herself single again, picking up the pieces of a life that always seemed to be in flux. Another Broadway colleague, Paul Roberts, soon became her husband as well. Unfortunately, he wrestled with severe alcoholism, a disease that corroded their relationship from the inside out. Ellen tried to steady things by adopting a baby boy named Jefferson, maybe believing that forming a family would anchor them both. But heartbreakingly, Roberts' addiction proved too powerful, and the marriage unraveled. In her personal timeline, tragedy and reinvention were a near-constant cycle. Another relationship entered the frame, actor Neil Nephew. She changed her surname again, this time taking on Burstyn, a variant from Neil's grandfather. In that single decision, Ellen McRae transformed into Ellen Burstyn, the name by which the world would finally come to know her. But as with too many of her earlier forays into family life, the partnership with Neil was shattered by mental illness. He suffered from schizophrenia, which escalated into violence. Ellen found herself in episodes of genuine terror, moments that no one should ever have to endure. Eventually, she divorced him too. There's a note of tragic irony in all these transformations. Each time she seemed to step toward security, she was forced to break away, forging a new identity to keep herself intact. While her personal life rattled from one storm to another, her professional star was slowly rising. She auditioned for Peter Bogdanovich's film The Last Picture Show in 1971, a project that was capturing attention among critics and film buffs even before it hit theaters. She landed a significant role, not the one of Ruth Popper, which went to Cloris Leachman and brought her an Oscar, but a role that led to Ellen's first Oscar nomination. In those days, being nominated for an Oscar meant you had arrived. It signaled that after years of scraping by, dancing in the background, and facing humiliations, she was finally recognized for her talent. Then came a script that would make her a household name, or at least ensure that her face would be seared into the cultural imagination forever. The Exorcist, William Peter Blatty's chilling tale that William Friedkin was adapting for the screen. Reading the novel, Ellen knew instantly that she had to play the mother of the possessed girl. The idea of battling literal demons might have resonated with her. She called Friedkin, insisted she was the perfect fit for this role, and soon found herself on a set that would become notorious for its unrelenting emotional and physical demands. There was the scene where a harness yanked her violently to the floor. Friedkin had promised to go easy, then cranked up the intensity. She fractured her lower spine. Elsewhere, the set was manipulated to create genuine disgust, rotting meat in the background, to ensure the actors would look authentically nauseated. If that wasn't enough, The Exorcist spawned rumors of a curse. People associated with the project died during or just after filming, fueling a sense that this was no ordinary movie. Watching it in theaters, Ellen once saw a viewer faint from sheer terror. Attempting to help, she worried that if the woman opened her eyes and saw Chris McNeil from The Exorcist hovering over her, it would only prolong the horror. It's easy to imagine how those experiences might leave a lasting imprint. Still, the film's success was staggering. Turning 1973 into the year Ellen Burstyn joined the rarefied ranks of leading actors whose names are forever linked to an iconic cinematic phenomenon. During this period, her son Jefferson was about 9 years old. She made it clear he was barred from seeing The Exorcist, a film so horrifying that even grown adults were leaving theaters in an adrenaline-soaked panic. Years later, when he was 14, he confessed it still felt too terrifying to watch. This underlines just how effectively The Exorcist had tapped into primal fears. Yet Ellen wasn't content to rest on her laurels. Scripts began pouring in, but she disliked the typical portrayal of women as mere decorative love interests. She wanted roles with depth and authenticity, which led her to a property called Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. Determined to make it her own, she sought out a scrappy young director named Martin Scorsese, fresh off Mean Streets. He had little experience directing female-centered narratives, but he was eager to learn. For Ellen, that was enough. She needed someone with passion for truth, even if they were still raw around the edges. Filming Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore brought its own set of challenges. Harvey Keitel, known for his intensity, performed a scene so raw that Ellen ended up crying for an hour after they finished shooting. Yet the result was cinematic magic. The movie turned a profit, garnered critical acclaim, and secured Ellen the 1974 Best Actress Academy Award. Suddenly, she was among Hollywood's elite, a symbol of a new era of female-led films that told women's stories with complexity and nuance. Her success with Alice also caught the attention of television producers, who spun off the story into a sitcom simply called Alice. It ran for 9 seasons, making quite a bit of money for those involved. Ellen, though, turned down the TV version, missing the chance to cash in on what became a lucrative, long-running series. One might wonder if she regretted it, or if she simply had her sights set on preserving her film career over network sitcom stardom. As she soared, her past traumas still lingered. Her ex-husband, Neil Nephew, still deeply unstable, began stalking her. He once broke into her home and assaulted her. In that era, archaic laws meant the legal system offered little protection for a woman in that predicament. She couldn't press charges against an ex-spouse for rape, as marital status muddied everything. Neil later took his own life in 1978, adding another tragic chapter to Ellen's personal story. Through it all, she kept working, even if the late 1970s and 1980s brought a mix of career highs and lows. She found herself in a string of underperforming films, including The Spitfire Grill, Deceiver, and Playing by Heart. The Yards was a particular financial disaster, losing $23 million and rattling the faith studio heads had in her star power. Still, she refused to vanish from the screen. In 1986, she gave television another shot with The Ellen Burstyn Show, but the ratings were disastrous, and the show ended after just 8 episodes. It became the third lowest-rated series that year, a stark reminder that success in one medium doesn't guarantee success in another. By the time the new millennium arrived, it might have seemed to outsiders that her best days were behind her. That's when Darren Aronofsky entered the picture with Requiem for a Dream, 2000. Ellen almost turned it down, finding the script too bleak, but she checked out Aronofsky's earlier film Pi, recognized his talent, and agreed to join. The role would demand physical and emotional extremes. She wore a fat suit for certain scenes and also lost weight for others, capturing her character's devastating spiral into addiction and delusion. One story from set claims that a camera operator found her monologue so gut-wrenching he simply broke down, unable to stop crying. That performance garnered her another Best Actress Oscar nomination. It was a heartbreak to lose to Julia Roberts and Erin Brockovich, but the industry recognized that Ellen had delivered one of the era's most haunting portrayals. Then came a bizarre 2006 Emmy nomination for HBO's Mrs. Harris. She was on screen for all of 14 seconds. Critics and TV fans alike were baffled. She dryly joked that maybe next time she'd manage a nomination with just 7 seconds of screen time. The quip epitomizes her pragmatic sense of humor. When you've navigated real horrors in life, a trivial controversy about an award nomination can only rank so high on your worry list. By 2013, at an age when many would be retiring, she embraced a recurring role on House of Cards. The show, fronted by Kevin Spacey, became a hit on streaming platforms, ushering in a new golden era of prestige TV. Ellen earned renewed Emmy attention, her comedic vow never to do television again having softened by this point. She eventually parted ways from House of Cards after the scandal involving Spacey. Meanwhile, she also ventured into comedic territory with an appearance on Louie, proving her range remained as broad as ever. The woman who once danced anonymously behind Jackie Gleason was now toggling effortlessly between gritty drama, subtle comedy, and everything in between. As if life were coming full circle, she returned to the Exorcist franchise in 2023 for The Exorcist Believer. She was 90 years old by then, a living legend stepping back into a world she'd helped redefine half a century earlier. The new film struggled with critics and audiences, failing to replicate the original's cultural impact. But Ellen's presence lent it an undeniable credibility. Flop or not, her ability to keep working at that age was a testament to her resilience and the respect she commanded in Hollywood. Looking back, it's remarkable how many times she faced heartbreak, physical danger, professional setbacks, and personal betrayals. A violent stepfather, a mother who shipped her off, an illegal procedure that robbed her of natural motherhood, multiple failed marriages, harrowing film shoots. Most people would have collapsed under the weight. Ellen Burstyn transformed each blow into a layer of steel. That forging process wasn't quick or painless, but you can see its results in her performances. There's an empathy in her eyes, a raw vulnerability, as though she's channeling all those nights she cried alone or fought to protect herself. Hollywood recognized her formidable talent with the so-called Triple Crown of acting: an Oscar for Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, 2 Emmys, even if one was for near cameo screen time, and a Tony Award. She almost joined the rarefied EGOT circle when in 1997 she snagged a Grammy nomination for Best Spoken Word Album. However, that year, Hillary Clinton took the prize, leaving Ellen 1 trophy short. Yet when you consider she's still going strong at an age when many are content to reminisce on past triumphs, you can't help but wonder if she might just claim a Grammy someday. At this point, she's defied so many odds that betting against her seems foolish. To fully appreciate Ellen Burstyn's life, though, we have to step back and see the bigger mosaic. Hers is a story deeply rooted in the very soul of show business. From the battered child looking for an escape, to the stage hopeful who hopped from Dallas to New York, to the unstoppable force who overcame the indignities of an illegal operation, domestic violence, and Hollywood's fickle nature. She changed her name multiple times, not because she was flighty or indecisive, but because each chapter of her life necessitated a new identity, a fresh start. Every time fate slammed a door in her face, she carved out another path. The sense of resilience is perhaps best captured in the comedic anecdote about her Emmy cameo. She only showed up for a few seconds and received an award nomination. Most people in that situation might feel embarrassed or try to downplay it, but Ellen found a wry humor in it, effectively saying, "Sure, it's absurd, but I'll take it, and I'll even joke about it." That attitude reveals a woman who has been through so much real drama that petty controversies hardly register. If you've stared down the complexities of mental illness in a spouse, survived a physically abusive childhood, and come through a near lifetime in one of the toughest industries on the planet, silly awards, Snafu is hardly worth losing sleep over. She has consistently pushed for roles that reflect a wide spectrum of women's experiences, refusing to accept the conventional Hollywood template that relegates women to the sidelines. Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore stood as a testament to that fight. She demanded authenticity, enlisted Martin Scorsese to help capture it, and brought to the screen a woman's journey that was messy, complicated, and deeply human. The success of that film validated the approach, laying groundwork for more nuanced female stories in mainstream cinema. From her haunting role in Requiem for a Dream to her groundbreaking Oscar win in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, she has proven herself time and again. Despite the hardships, she has built a legacy that continues to inspire new generations. What's your favorite Ellen Burstyn performance? Let us know in the comments below. And if you were moved by her journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more unforgettable stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.